So do you feel threatened? Based on your responses, it's clear that you feel threatened to unlearn the toxic masculinity.
There's nothing to unlearn. I am human. I'm a man.
So you still believe in being tough, bottling your emotions?
When there's time for letting out, you let it out.
There is supposed to be a lot of safe spaces for men. Yeah, there is supposed to be a lot of safe spaces for men. A lot of fathers, a lot of men within the social media space are supposed to be safe spaces for men. But they have used those safe spaces to prey on impressionable young guys. We can talk about
Really something of weak-mindedness, not emotions. If you are weak-minded, you can be preyed on. That's how it's a food chain. The weak get preyed on.
Over the years, women have tirelessly fought for the rights of other women, emphasizing on the need for fairness and equality. Now, we could say that the feminist movement is one that has come a very long way, but unfortunately, we still have a lot of unanswered questions and opposing views concerning this subject. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode of the Wit and Wonder podcast. My name is Jamila, and diving into this topic, I have two important people here with me who would be discussing the whole feminist movement. Ladies and gentlemen, could you kindly do us the pleasure to introduce yourselves?
Okay, my name is Mariam Jasmine Saka. I'm a psychology and English major in the University of Ghana. I'm an avid reader. I host my own personal podcast where I talk about social issues. So it's really great that I have this opportunity to talk about this.
Okay,
Gentlemen.
Sorry for interrupting. Okay, so I'm Joe Kwekujiyamwa.
Okay.
I'm a final year student in Ghana Telecom, and I study computer engineering. So don't really have much of an interest in life. I watch anime and read manga. That's all I practically do. So,
very interesting people on the panel today. So feminism. I'd like to ask you guys this question. What is the feminist movement all about?
Okay, so I'll go first.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of misconceptions about what feminism is.
Okay.
But feminism inherently is the idea that men and women are of equal value and importance as human beings, and therefore they should be accorded that equality in terms of opportunity. Feminism is not saying men and women are the same, because same is not the same as equal.
Okay.
It's to say that when it comes to value as persons, men and women are equal. So that's what we are advocating for.
Okay. Joel, what
well,
would you say the feminist movement is all about?
Feminism, I think I really don't have much to say about, because I don't really follow it. Because what is there to talk about, actually? You can't be telling me that men and women are equal. It's not done. It's even in the Bible. Even in our current lives, it's there. You can't tell me because of equality. So about no.
Okay. Very interesting view. Yeah. Now, I'd like to ask this question. Is feminism about equality or equity, or you think it encompasses both?
For me or her?
For you.
I think the question, yeah.
Joel.
Please ask the question again.
Is feminism about equality or equity, or do you think it encompasses both? Now, let me explain. Equity is about being treated fairly, and equality is about being treated the same as every other person. So do you think the feminist movement is about equity or equality, or you think it encompasses the both?
You could say encompasses. Is that the word you use, right? Yeah, so encompasses. Never heard of that word before, but okay. New vocabulary. So it coincides with both of them. Let me use that.
Okay, why do you say that?
Because we can't treat them unfairly. They are, like you said, they are human beings.
Okay.
So you have to treat them with, should I say, the utmost respect, because they are humans, but not the same as us men.
Okay. One question for you, Joe. Are you a feminist?
I don't do labels.
Go into details, please, if you can.
I don't really, like, how do I put this? I don't believe in, I don't see, that's quite offensive to her since she's a feminist. So I don't believe in the movement, feminism. If you get me? The movement, I don't really believe in that.
Why don't you?
We are all humans. So how do I put it? So should men also get up one day and say, we believe in masculinity? you guys, the women will take it wrong, be like almost purchasing. You already have all you have already, and you want to create a movement to emphasize more on your privilege.
Well, I could say that the whole feminist movement is because for the longest time, the women have been labeled as the underprivileged, and then men have been seen as the more privileged and then dominant. So the whole movement is to just give women the same opportunities as men and to be recognized in society. As society is paying more attention and giving more opportunities to men, I think that's what the whole movement is about. It's not about men just waking up one day and saying, okay, I also believe in masculinity. So it's more, for me, if you ask me this question, I would say I think the whole movement is a fair balance of equity and equality. So being treated fair and then being treated equal as every other person.
I agree. I think feminism has to deal with equality and equity because in movements like this, which is historically and socially relevant, we need to have equity in order to have equality.
Okay.
We can't just get up and treat people the same when they aren't. So we need equity to balance the scale. If a certain group of people are in a power dynamic, we need to push a group of people to that level. So equity is very important. Without it, we can't really achieve equality. Yeah.
Okay, so finally, let me ask you this question. Do you think men can be feminist and still be masculine?
By my personal experience, a lot of the intelligent, very powerful men I know are feminists. Yes, because they don't see what your gender has to do with your capabilities.
Okay.
And most of them believe that men and women are inherently valuable and equal. So a lot of them are feminists. It doesn't coincide with masculinity.
Okay, seems Joel has something to say.
Yeah, she just said something.
Okay, sure,
that
go ahead.
The gender shouldn't be, should I say, a talking point in terms of equity and equality. So why then is there talk about feminism? Then it means it's a bag of, both.
Take it again.
Yeah, it doesn't make, it's not really something to talk about then. If you do believe there shouldn't be, should I say, gender is also a label, right?
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be something you should talk about, if that's what you're saying from what you said.
So I think gender is not something we shouldn't talk about. It is something we should consider when we are trying to break down structures that disadvantage certain genders over other. And it's not just women or men. I can give an example. Some people argue that in the courts of divorce and when they are giving custody, men are more disadvantaged because they are men, so they are more likely to give custody to a woman. As a feminist, I'm supposed to talk against something like this, that his being a man has nothing to do with his ability to nurture for a child. So that is why feminism is important, and the conversation of gender matters when we are trying to break down these things. So it's more like my gender should not play a role in my value as a person. So you are not, because I'm a woman doesn't make me less of a human or less important, or the same thing for men. So it's a very important talking point, not just when we are breaking down these stereotypes and standards.
Sure.
That's a very interesting take. Jasmine. Right. I think I should have asked this question before, but then are there any misconceptions around feminism? Yeah, the question goes to both of you.
I don't think it's just feminism. Every social movement has a lot of misconceptions. When we have the social justice, the civil war, black people are this, all these things. But I think the main misconception is that feminists are man-hating. Okay. There's even a term for it, is misandry. But there's also the saying that when you are the oppressor, equality starts to look like oppression. So now that we are seeing a lot of women breaking into male-dominated spaces, it's starting to feel like it's suffocating. So feminism is now in the limelight and people are seeing it more often. And as they are seeing it more often, they are seeing the flaws that come with it. So it's looking like it's man-hating, but it's not. And if anyone is man-hating, they can't be a feminist because it's against the very tenets of feminism, which is that men and women are equal. So if you disregard the men in feminism, you're also off the mark.
Joe, is there anything you'd like to say to counter what she just said?
Okay, so wait. You being a feminist, you support men and support women. Exactly. So why then are you called a feminist in the first place?
Because that's the whole definition of a feminist, equality of men and women.
Can you define that in your terms?
Feminism is equality of men and women.
How is that? I am seeing femi. Femi is...
It's just the name because the feminism movement was started by women. So it's named after women.
Okay, so using your... Well, you just use Christ, right? So the ideology of Christ.
Okay.
So why don't you use the ideology of women then?
So it is an ideology created by women.
That men too can have
Equal rights, yes.
No, the custody of their children.
Yeah. It's inherently a belief started by women.
Really?
That
so why do you
men
then
and women should be equal?
Take that to court and then fight?
So it's been an interesting conversation so far, and personally, when I got to hear about feminism, I used to think that, oh, it's just about women supporting women alone. But then with time and with age, I'd say that with more information, I got to know that the feminist movement is not just about supporting women alone, but then I got to know that it's also about teaching men to unlearn toxic masculinity. So I'd like to throw a question to Joel specifically. Do you think that learning, men specifically unlearning toxic masculinity is a threat to their identity?
Quick question, why that label?
What label?
The toxic, what we call?
You know, usually we say that men are supposed to be strong, men don't show emotion.
Because we are supposed to, duh.
Who made the rules?
Who made
you
the
are
rules?
Supposed to, in what sense?
The Bible says you are the man of the house, you take care of the family. If you are not strong, how can you do that?
But then being strong doesn't mean that you don't need to show emotions. You can be strong and still be vulnerable. So
yes,
do you think that being vulnerable is a challenge to your identity?
You said being emotional.
Yes.
When Jesus Christ was a man, right? Or you don't believe he was a man?
But they said he wept.
Because he's a man.
Precisely. So that's emotion. He was in pain. He cried. You should cry out. When you need help, you do.
That's
so,
okay.
You
so
do cry
I'm
out.
saying
that's what
that
we're trying to teach men.
That's what we're
teach us.
Yes.
So do you think that?
Are you trying? Wait. You're trying to teach men how to be emotional.
Yes, exactly. It's part of the
There's no machine learning about emotions
not
when it comes to men.
teaching them how to be emotional, but then showing them or then bringing the awareness about them being emotional. Like, it's okay for you to show emotions. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't need to bottle your emotions to be seen as a man. It's okay for you to open up if something is bothering you, but then you can still be masculine. But we know that for the longest time, men have to like put up an act to be seen as strong. Otherwise, if they show emotions...
Yeah, that's in front of you women. Because you guys are vipers, to be honest. You girls, women use our emotions against us. So we open up to our boys.
Okay, are you sure?
Yeah, we do that.
Because there are no boys that don't even open up to their boys.
Okay, so can I chip in a little?
Okay,
okay. So when we talk about toxic masculinity, the reason we call it, you asked why the label. When we see something is toxic, it means that it's disadvantaging men at a very high rate. Most times when you hear the conversation of toxic masculinity, we are talking about how it affects women. But I've come to learn that it affects more men even greater. We have something like the male loneliness epidemic. We are now in Men's Mental Health Month, where we are seeing that even though women have higher suicidal tendencies, men are going to suicide at a higher rate. We also have, even though women have higher rates of depression, men are suffering more because they are less likely to be diagnosed. Why? Because the things that are symptoms of depression are seen as normal in men. Men are conditioned to suppress their emotion. We even have it in African, men mean soon. But it's against your nature to not cry. Do you understand? So men are taught to suppress their emotions. They don't know how to actively work through their emotions. And to be honest, some men are trying. Like, people are really coming out to really show their emotions. But it's toxic because it's affecting you at a higher rate. We're having higher rates of suicide amongst men, higher rates of drug abuse amongst men, higher rates of male loneliness epidemic because of this lack of expression. So we are saying it's toxic masculinity to you, meaning that we have to take away that conditioning that is harming men and young boys. That's why feminism is so important, that as we're advocating for women, we should also advocate for men. So you see that when it's Mental Health Month, a lot of feminists come online to advocate. But especially within the African religion, we have men and then we just dismiss the problems of men, which is a problem. So that's why we have to label that, yes, there is toxic masculinity, like suppression of emotions. And what do we do about it? That's the way forward. So that's why the label is important, and that is what it is.
So quick question.
Okay.
Should I open up to you so that you use it against me or die with it?
I think that is an anecdote. There are women that will not, and there are women that will.
But majority of you do use it against us.
Yes, but you can't say that. And what statistics are you using?
I don't think that it's something that's there.
According to?
Should you? Okay, so wait. The emotion part, according to what?
You said majority of women weaponize, and I say according to.
There's no according. We've heard stories.
On what basis? Yes, I've also heard stories of men weaponizing the emotions of women. we can both hear stories. We need concrete data to make a concrete like claim. So I can't get up and say most men are stupid. I don't have any concrete claim that most men are stupid. I've not met most men. I can hear women say men are stupid, but I've not met every man. So we have to make claims based on something substantial, not stories we've heard.
Okay, so let's now come to something substantial.
Okay.
Us being strong, right? So strength does come with emotional strength and physical strength.
Okay.
So being emotionally strong gives you what? An emotional edge. So it's called control. So anything you're not a baby.
It's not based on gender, it's based on people. Both men and women should have the ability to have emotional control.
But we being men, we've chosen not to be
exactly. That's why you're harmed.
Harmed how?
That's why you have higher suicide rates.
That's on those who can't handle it. That's not me.
It's against your nature. And
it's not against my nature, woman. Okay. That's against them. They died, they are gone. Me, I'm here. Okay. I'm battling it.
So with a human brain, you are not going to feel your emotions.
I do feel emotions.
Okay, exactly, in a healthy way.
Yes, precisely.
So that's what we advocate for.
Why do you advocate for something that...
So do you feel threatened? Based on your responses, it's clear that you feel threatened to unlearn the toxic masculinity.
There's nothing to unlearn. I am human. I'm a man.
So you still believe in being tough, bottling your emotions?
When there's time for letting out, you let it out. When there's time to bottle.
Is there anyone that
then I think you believe in the feminist tenet of expressiveness?
Yeah, men do express themselves. Like right now, if I didn't believe in me being expressive, I won't be here.
So yours is a denial of the fact that men don't suppress their emotions?
Yes, we don't suppress anything.
Okay, so if you show you statistics that men are more likely to suppress their emotion, will you change your mind?
I'm not changing anything. It's numbers. It's numbers, woman. It's numbers.
Okay.
Okay, Fafali, so let me ask you this question. Do you think there are any safe spaces for men to speak about their mental health?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Okay, so there is supposed to be a lot of safe spaces for men. Yeah, there is supposed to be a lot of safe spaces for men. A lot of fathers, a lot of men within the social media space are supposed to be safe spaces for men. But they have used those safe spaces to prey on impressionable young guys. We can talk about the manosphere, the red pill content, the alpha male content that is preying on a lot of young boys, to the point that fathers are even getting worried. You've heard about the adolescence movie on Netflix, which sought to really address an issue like that. So there are not enough adolescents.
Okay.
So there are not enough safe spaces to guard, especially impressionable young boys. They are being preyed on by people who want to make money, people who have vendettas against women, and are teaching these men to met out their anger on the world onto women and in other areas of their life. They tell them they are not valuable if they don't make money. They are not valuable if they don't look marks. They don't go to the gym and all these things. So we need to create safe spaces for men when they know that, one, they can express their emotion. It does not make you less of a man. You are valuable even if you don't have the money that people say you want. Women don't hate you, men don't hate you, and then we can actually do something with progress.
Okay.
That's actually something of weak-mindedness, not emotions. If you are weak-minded, you can be preyed on. That's how it's a food chain. The weak get preyed on. You don't see an ant killing a lion because it's a prey, so it can do what it can because how do I put it? What did you just say? You used something, right? You used the word. What was it? No, going to the gym, because the ant went to the gym, so it has built body, so it can go against a lion or something. No. It's a food chain. There's supposed to be a hierarchy.
So the large amount of young men and boys who are impressionable and are being exposed to looks maxing, unhealthy disorders or unhealthy body image.
I've seen all those things on TikTok.
Yeah, so are they all weak-minded?
Yes, it's weak-mindedness. So if you let something like that to overpower you, it's weak-minded.
How do we help them? Or you believe it's a lost cause for them?
Is it
so I don't believe they are lost causes.
Bring a child up how the way you should go.
Yes, and it's so unfortunate that now these boys have been preyed on. So as a feminist who believes that men and women should be equal and protected, I think that we should do something about these boys.
So if that's the case, are you blaming the mothers for that? Because
I'm not blaming anybody.
Yeah, okay, so me, I am. Because if you are a mother and let's say women...
Or a father.
And then you don't teach your child how to build a strong mental health, then he gets preyed on. It's your fault. So I don't think you're labeling your feminist movement is supposed to change someone like that.
That's what we do, unfortunately.
That's what you do. How do you do that?
Yeah,
Tell
so
me how
by
you do
advocacy, my sitting on here then brings about the conversation and the awareness. We have people who are in parliament, like feminists, we lobby politicians to pass the certain laws.
All laws that I've not heard anything
there are
about.
many, you can research afterwards.
Like
maybe a privacy, but like those privacy laws that prevent
privacy laws.
like cyber privacy laws. We also have
elaborate. I don't get it.
So we have laws that prevent certain things from being exposed to certain, like pornographic material on YouTube, TikTok, and so much more. We have YouTube now putting up guidelines to make sure that the things that they passed on to kids are things that are factual and things that are not harmful to the psyche of young boys. We've even had, like I said, the adolescent show where we have brought about awareness about what is going on with young kids, and we brought it to the real world for them to see that this is what's going on and what we can do to help these people.
I don't see shit, to be honest.
So you need to expose yourself more.
I've been exposing, and the looks, Maxine, and what McCalls you've been talking about, it's all there. I don't see yours, to be honest.
Right, that's okay. So I think this conversation is sparking a lot of interest in the audience, and there's somebody in the background that wants to give her thoughts on this subject. So can we hear from you, young woman?
Okay, for the record, I'm female and I don't believe in feminism.
Thank you.
Okay, that's
I think that to the point where you want women to have equal rights, like you said, equality does not mean sameness. Men and women are not the same.
Okay.
So it is going to be problematic to vie for equality for them, given the physiological structures, biblical structures that actively exist around both of these genders. Okay. If you are saying that there are a lot of men that dominate a field like construction, engineering, so then you are going to make deliberate space for other women who want to vie into these fields. The reason why we are seeing that to be a bit problematic is not because of the attempt to create these opportunities. It is because within this attempt to create these opportunities, men are being ignored and being made to suffer. Why am I saying this? Given that you believe that there's a lot of male-dominated fields and there's a need to make conscious deliberate attempts to push these women in there to give them equality, the other men that actively have the same opportunities to enter that field begins to suffer because of their attempts to create spaces for them. We think that rather the conversation that exists about feminism not being just gender biased but focusing on two genders is actively sidelining the effects of men, and that is why we have a lot of men that are suffering mental health issues. We think that is problematic to the males, and that should be taken into consideration at large.
Okay, so with let's start with the last thing she says about men's mental health. So much research exists online on the cause of men's mental health, or at least on a large scale, and it's not because they are being denied job opportunities. It's because of the conditioning we have of our men and how they are taught to express emotions, and psychologically it takes a huge toll on them, and this can be searched in so many things online. That's the research. So it's not really because we are denying them job opportunities. It's also that when we talk about, she mentioned sameness and equality and brought up construction. When we deny women, or I don't even want to say deny, when women are not able to do certain jobs, it's not because they are women, because they don't have the certain skill set. So then what becomes the discrimination is not on the basis of gender, but on the basis of skill set. If we have a bodybuilder who is female and we have Kevin Hart, we are not going to put them on the same level field because they have different skill sets in terms of muscle, in terms of maybe stamina. Okay. It does not mean Kevin Hart and the woman are less equal. It then becomes the point of discrimination, strength. So it is not gender. So when we have something like law, leadership, medicine, all these things that require intellect, which both men and women have, it's a level playing field. We should have equality. We can't use the strength, because even with amongst men, we have stronger men than others. So other stronger men will enter a construction field or the army over some men. They are still equal. So that's why we say feminism is not sameness, but we understand that the discrimination should not be on the basis of gender. So when we bring up construction, we are talking about discrimination based on strength. And it just happens that biologically men are stronger. So in those fields, we will see men.
Yeah, we appreciate that basis, right? But to what extent do you restrict skills? Because the skills of a woman is going to be based on the fact that she's a woman. And then the skills of a man is going to be based on the fact that he's male enough. Why? Because a man is strong naturally. Women are seen to be weaker. I agree when you say that is something that is a skill problem and should not be based on gender.
Exactly.
But then the reason why it's a skill problem, it is because their gender restricts certain skills to a certain extent.
Yes,
so to what extent are you willing to punish the male, like to what extent are you willing to put the larger male at a greater disadvantage to create deliberate efforts for the like low amount of females that have that skill? That is where the conversation becomes problematic for men, because we agree that it is a skill problem and that should not be a gender issue. But the reason why it is a skill problem again is because the gender restricts certain skills of women and males. We agree that you want women to be into certain fields like construction, like engineering. To what extent are you willing to put away the average man that has what it takes to be able to go into that field, simply because you want a lot of women to be able to go into that field too when they are lacking the skill? That then becomes another conversation on its own. The problem is not to say that I don't think I disagree with certain sides of feminism, but to the point where I draw the line is at the point where the male populace is being sidelined, because you say that there is a deliberate attempt to create equity between both genders, but then in the course of doing that, you tend to sideline a lot of the males, and it has a toll on them, their mental health. But men are not expressive enough to be able to bring these things out, and that is why we think that like there should be some form of conversations that exist around the way feminists take their actions.
Okay, very interesting take so far. At this point, I'm a bit confused as to what to do next, but then I'd like to ask Joel a question. So Joel, per the contributions the feminists and the non-feminists have brought up, do you think that the feminist movement is sidelining the male?
Oh, I don't think, should I speak for the men? I don't think we men actually even look at that part of the world, because it's a different story altogether. We've got bigger fishes to fry than look at what women think about our privileges and what we have over them.
Okay, so are you trying to nullify all that she said?
What,
Because,
the non-feminist or?
yes, the non-feminist.
I'm not really nullifying what she has said, but she has a point. She does have a point.
Okay.
That it's taking a toll on us, because I can't be in a house with a woman that thinks that she's the same as me, or not same, she's equal. So we
You
go to
can't be.
I can't be.
You can't
No.
Wow.
Because let's say we do work at the same place. I'm just highballing. I take
Okay.
1,000 CDs. She wants to also take 1,000 CDs because
You can't be with her.
yeah, I can't.
You can't be with
Because
her.
it's like she said, it's a skill set. What I know and what I'm capable of doing. You can't do that.
So does it mean that you are, what's the word? You feel challenged by your
There's
woman?
no challenge. There was never a challenge to begin with.
No, but then why would you say that if you are earning the same as your woman, then you can't be with her?
Because it will bring tension within the relationship.
Why?
And
Tension
then also
in what sense?
in terms of the workplace and in the house. Because first of all, she now has the mindset that she can do what I can do.
Okay.
And she can't?
No, you cannot.
Like what?
In terms of, let's say, let's take from the engineering perspective,
Okay.
or what she talked. So it was two parts, construction and engineering. Let's just take the construction. Let's say I'm a head of construction at a firm, and then she's also a head of construction at a different firm. I take higher, and then she takes, let's say I take 300 and she takes 200. And then she wants to dedicate about that. Since her husband takes that much, she also wants to take the same amount.
What's wrong with that? Why
In
can't
terms
she?
of skill sets, if there's a problem, I can go to the site and help them. You can't.
Okay, so now let me give an example. You're both lawyers. If she earns 300, you earn 300. You can't be with somebody like that.
I think I'm actually taking it from the construction, because there are certain fields that don't allow. Should I use the word allow? Yeah, I can use the word allow.
Okay, very insightful and very interesting views from my guests. Would have to wrap up this session to get a new guest in the studio. So this is where we'd bring it to an end. Not completely, but then just to get an opposing view on this same subject.